Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting right to it. That cloud data lake you've got, maybe on S3 or ADLS, GCS.
Yeah, the big question is it actually, paying for itself or just costing you money?
Exactly. You might be seeing those storage bills climb, maybe wondering, okay, when does this data lake actually start delivering? Feeling a bit swamped by the cost, perhaps?
It's a really common feeling. The promise was huge, right? This amazing single source of truth. But sometimes, yeah, it feels more like a black hole for budget.
So our mission in this deep dive is to get practical. How do you actually flip that? Optimize it so it's driving real, tangible ROI.
That's the plan. Because just letting data pile up isn't a strategy.
Right. So the core idea we're exploring is active optimization, really tuning it. And it seems to break down into what, three main pillars?
That's right. We're looking at cost, performance, and crucially, governance. It's not a one and done thing either.
Ah, so it's continuous, like maintenance.
Absolutely. Think of it like a performance car. You wouldn't just buy it and expect it to win races forever without upkeep, right? Same principle. Needs constant attention.
Makes sense. Okay, let's hit costs first. Those storage bills, they can be, well, pretty eye-watering sometimes. What usually drives that overspend?
Often it's actually quite basic stuff like keeping data in the wrong storage tier. Years and years of old logs just sitting in expensive hot storage.
Stuff you barely touch anymore.
Exactly. Or another big one is duplicate data. Multiple teams storing the same massive data sets. It all adds up surprisingly fast.
Okay, so those are the problems. What about the fixes? What are the, actionable steps people can take?
Well, first, lifecycle policies are key. Set up automated rules
To do what exactly?
to move that older, less accessed data automatically down to cheaper, colder storage tiers, like Glacier or Archive tiers.
Smart. Get it off the prime real estate. What else?
Definitely look at data formats, using efficient formats like Parquet or ORC,
They're columnar.
which means they're better for analytics queries. Much better. And they often take up significantly less space compared to, say, CSV or JSON. We're talking potentially huge storage savings.
Wow. And compression.
And compression on top of that, yes. Squeeze those files even smaller. Switching formats, say from JSON to compressed Parquet, can easily cut storage costs by like 70–80% in some cases.
That's massive. That frees up budget right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Budget you can then use for, more valuable things.
Right. Okay, so saving money is great, but the whole point is getting value out of the data, which brings us to performance. Why is query speed so critical for ROI?
Well, think about it. Slow queries are just painful. They kill productivity.
You mean analysts just sitting around waiting?
Yeah, waiting hours potentially for a query result. That's expensive time. And it means decisions are delayed, opportunities might be missed. Plus, slow, inefficient queries often chew up more cloud compute resources.
Ah, so it costs more in compute too. Double whammy.
Precisely. Each hour an analyst waits, or each extra compute cycle burned, it hits the bottom line.
Okay, so speed matters. How do we make those queries faster? Like lightning fast.
Effective data partitioning is probably number one.
So organizing the data smartly.
Exactly, based on how you actually query it, like partitioning by date or by customer ID or region. It means the query engine only scans the relevant partitions, not the whole data set. Massive speed up.
Reduces the workload. What else?
And then there's file sizing. You need to get it right. Avoid the small file problem.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Too many tiny files.
Exactly. It creates a lot of overhead for query engines like Spark or Presto. Reading metadata for thousands of tiny files is slow. Compacting them into larger, more optimal file sizes, maybe a few hundred megabytes to a gigabyte each, makes a big difference.
Okay, so partitioning and right-sizing files. Got it. So we're cheaper, we're faster. Now the third pillar, governance and security. This sometimes feels like the less glamorous part.
Maybe. But it's arguably just as important, maybe even more so for sustainable value.
Why is that? How does good governance boost ROI?
Because, fundamentally, it builds trust. If your data lake is like the Wild West, messy and unsecured, people just won't trust the data in it.
Or they won't use it effectively.
Right. If there's no data catalog, how do people even find the data they need? It becomes this frustrating treasure hunt.
Yeah, I can see that slowing things down.
Definitely. And weak security. That's just asking for trouble. Data breaches, compliance fines, that kills ROI pretty fast.
And lineage, you mentioned that too.
Data lineage, yeah. Knowing where data came from, how it's been transformed. If you can't track that, how can you trust the insights you derive from it? It undermines the whole value proposition.
Okay, fair point.
Yeah.
Trust is essential. So what are the non-negotiables for governance, the must-haves?
You absolutely need a data catalog. That's your map, your inventory. You need to enforce encryption, both at rest and in transit. Protect that asset.
Access control.
Absolutely critical. Use IAM roles and policies properly. Least privilege access. Don't give everyone keys to the kingdom.
Makes sense. And tracking that lineage.
And implement data lineage tracking. There are tools for this. It gives you that audit trail, that confidence in the data's journey.
Okay, this is quite a checklist. Cost optimization, performance tuning, solid governance. It sounds like real work. How do folks actually translate this effort into, business results? What should leaders focus on?
For leaders, it's about setting the right expectations and tracking the right metrics. KPIs are important here.
Like what?
Things like cost per terabyte stored, average query execution time, maybe the number of successful ML models deployed using lake data, or the number of business units actively using it for insights, tangible results.
And for the data engineers, the architects, the analysts on the ground?
For them, it's about rolling up their sleeves and implementing these techniques we've discussed, setting up those lifecycle policies, choosing parquet, defining partitions, configuring access controls.
And communicating the wins, presumably.
Yes. Crucial. Monitor the impact, show the improvements. Being able to say, we implemented partitioning and compaction and reduced average query costs by 30% while speeding up report generation. That resonates. That shows clear ROI.
Right, connecting the technical work directly to business value. And the ultimate payoff goes beyond just saving on storage or compute, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A well-optimized, well-governed data lake becomes the engine for so much more. Faster, smarter decision-making across the board.
Powering AI and machine learning.
Definitely. It's the foundation for building and training effective ML models, and potentially even creating new revenue streams, maybe monetizing aggregated, anonymized data insights.
So coming back to that initial question we posed, is your data lake a drain, or is it a driver of ROI?
It really boils down to whether you're actively managing it across these three pillars: cost, performance, governance.
You get those right. And it stops being just a storage pool and starts being a strategic asset.
Exactly. It transforms from a potential liability into a powerful engine for innovation, insights, and real business growth.
Okay, so here's something for you, the listener, to think about. Look at your own data lake situation. Which of those three areas, cost, performance, or governance, presents the biggest, most immediate opportunity for you to unlock more value right now?
That's the key question to take away. Where's your biggest lever?
Find it and start optimizing. That's your next deep dive. Thanks for tuning in.